All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our October work session. We're going to move right into the presentation this evening. Dr. Sherman will be presenting on professional development in the Jericho School District. Dr. Sherman?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to share a lot of the work that we all do. All the administrators helped me put this all together and make it great for our staff and for other administrators and in turn for our kids. So, moving right along. There are many opportunities that our staff has to learn and to grow. This is a brief list, actually, a list of some of the things that we do to take our staff further, and I will have the opportunity to speak to each of these. So the very first thing that we do is new teacher orientation. So teachers receive professional development before they even step into a classroom, and we have the opportunity to spend 2 full days with our new staff in August, prior to the beginning of school, and we really kind of orientate them to the district. So we kind of review the culture of the district. We take a bus tour of the community so they have an understanding of where our students live. Patrick comes in, Dr. Fogarty comes in and does a half a day on technology usage and what things they need to know, like PowerSchool and Canvas. Google Classroom, he explains all of that to our new teachers. We go over special education protocols, social emotional learning. We bring in Dr. Smith, who works with them as well. The JTA spends a half a day with the teachers, and we do have lunch with the administrators, so all the administrators get to meet all our new staff. And one of the best parts of the orientation is when they get to spend some time with our kids. So they spend about an hour with our kids, usually day 2. Just the kids present what they expect of their teachers, and it's pretty interesting to listen. Our new teachers are pretty blown away by our kids. Actually, I'm blown away by our kids. So it's great to have them join us.
When does that occur? Does that occur before the superintendent's day, the beginning of the year?
Yes, the week before, 2 days in August. So our year 1 new teachers, the ones who are here for the first time in Jericho, it doesn't mean they're new to the profession. We spend the first Monday of every month going over 2 very specific areas. One is the Charlotte Danielson's framework for teaching, because that's how they're evaluated. So they truly need to understand what we're looking for. And the other piece is our curriculum associate for mathematics, Celine Kriegstein, spends a good part of the year doing explaining understanding by design and teaching teachers how to write units of study, kind of with a backwards design. By the end of year 1, teachers have a full unit of study that we review together. We do different protocols to review them, and they give each other cool and warm feedback. And going forward, we allow teachers to write units on their own, supervised by their curriculum associates or their principals, and we share them with the staff. This year we're going to have a digital catalog, and everything will be shared. So our year 2 new teachers have the opportunity to work with our administrators. What we do is we meet the second Monday of every month, and different administrators come up and kind of give them their best 90 minutes. So this year, some of the presentations are on AI, standards-based grading, Socratic seminars, interdisciplinary instruction, and so on. When teachers complete their second year of new teacher training, we allow them to move on to, I'm actually going to skip to it, because to a professional learning community. Very often those topics are picked up from those second year workshops that they have, and they want something that they want to explore further. Professional learning communities, PLCs, are a group of teachers who come together to study something of common interest. They very often will pick a book, different professional articles, they work together. They usually have to present to colleagues, and their topics are very often discussed with their direct supervisors, so they're worthwhile.
So when does that occur? I'm sorry.
That occurs on their own time. They write a proposal, they go through their CA or their principal, it comes to me, and we'll approve it.
But that's the thing that we do every year, where there's like a 300 hours worth of education, they can do their own project, they have to pitch. That's different.
Those are the research and development curriculum projects.
So is there any money involved in this, or this is all on your own?
Credit, this is for credit. So every 15 hours of professional development that is, I would say, sort of under our leadership is worth 1 credit. And those credits can go for salary advancement, or very often teachers do this just for their own, to gain knowledge.
So if you do this, and you do enough of this, and you get a salary bump, is that what you're saying?
No, they'll get 1 credit towards a salary bump.
How many credits do you need for a salary bump?
Dave, sometimes it's
Yeah, right,
15 to
I mean,
30 credits.
Typically in increments of 15 credits, there are salary goals.
What else do you get credits for besides these?
They do get 1 credit for attending new teacher workshops, because they're 15 hours in total for the year, so they'll get a credit for that. Same thing for year 2. When they do a research and development project, they can get credit or they can get paid to do it. In-service workshops, which I'm gonna go back to, the in-service catalog, those are 15 hours, and they can earn a credit for those as
So
well.
every 15 hours gets you 1 credit, minimum of 15 credits, you get a salary bump, but it sounds like it's a lot of work to get to those 15 credits.
It is, and I have to say, incredibly proud of our teachers because they put in the time, and they'll very often, which we'll get to a little later, seek out their own professional development opportunities, colleges, outside organizations, and they're pretty impressive because they do put a lot of time into learning and growing. And very often, these are teachers who have reached the highest salary set, and they'll continue to learn.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So you said that brand new teachers and teachers who, so a teacher who maybe have been tenured for years in another school still has to do all.
They're new to the district, they still have to go through new teacher workshop. Absolutely.
And in year 1, you said they have to put together their own lesson plans at the end of that?
No, year 1, Helene does a very, very thorough job on teaching them how to write units of study in the way, the format that we prefer, which is understanding by design. It's a backwards approach. And they'll come out of that in June with a unit of study.
But what are they doing for their first year teaching here though? If we're teaching them during that first year, on Monday, Mrs. Kriegstein's giving them a presentation on how to write a unit of study, what have they done for the first?
The units of study that they usually, the curriculum projects, the units of study that they write usually are to advance something within their curriculum, but they're given the curriculum. They're given the resources they need to move forward, starting day 1.
Do first year teachers write their own curriculum, lesson plans, or their lesson plans are sort of
Oh, no, everyone writes their own lesson plans. The curriculum associates, the elementary principals do a plethora of staff development, which starts at that first superintendent's conference day.
And I've never thought of this until you started talking about it, but they show up 9 days before the students show up, basically a week plus these extra 2 days, or whatever, 10 days. When are they writing those lesson plans then if you're a new teacher?
They're writing them anytime, probably between, and most of our teachers, I would say, I'm very comfortable saying most of our teachers do most of their planning on their own time.
No, because like this year we have a boatload of new
Yes, we do,
teachers.
we have
We
23.
Right, and
23
so
new teachers.
those 23 have written lesson plans. Some of them are teaching subjects I assume they've taught before.
Correct.
Some of the teaching subjects that they haven't taught before. Maybe an elementary school teacher might be teaching a grade they haven't taught before. When are they building that lesson plan?
They're building those lesson plans, superintendent's conference day, they're given time to work on those days, but very often they're here before them. Our teachers are here, I would say, from the middle of August.
And
Just
they're working
for
with the curriculum associates or with you or the other
With
teachers?
their
in that
principals,
process?
other teachers on their grade, they get together and they put it together, but I've never, 24 years that I was an elementary principal, I've never had a teacher be unprepared on day 1. So they're ready, and our teachers, anybody who comes here is so thrilled to be here.
Right, but are lesson plans written out for the full year, day 1, or they're?
Oh, no, they plan maybe a couple days in advance at a time.
Oh, that's it, okay.
Absolutely, it's important that they don't go beyond that, because you want to see what the kids have mastered, what you have to possibly reteach,
Got it.
so.
Okay.
I'm gonna go back to those in-service catalogs. So those are the catalogs that you approve at the board meetings, they're approved by the Board of Education. So in-service catalogs are courses that teachers can take that are given by Jericho teachers. So teachers put in a proposal, usually approved by an administrator. The professional development committee comes together, it's comprised of teachers, administrators, and myself. And we look at these proposals and then we select 6 or 7 to put out. The fall in-service catalog has been approved and those classes are actually starting next week. And
But this is different than the individual research project, that's what I was thinking.
correct.
Okay. So this is also compensated or uncompensated?
Credit.
For the person giving it, the person taking it, or
The
both?
person taking the course can get credit, but the person giving it gets paid.
Okay, so the person giving it gets paid, the person, and you said there's 6 or 7 per,
Catalog,
and there's 3 catalogs a year. Okay.
correct. Okay, just discuss PLCs. A really important method of delivering staff development is during the curriculum meetings with the curriculum associates. They meet with their departments twice a month to discuss trends in education, curricula, new standards, and so on. And twice a month, secondary teachers, grades 6 to 12, will have a faculty meeting where principal, assistant principal, or teacher might deliver additional staff development. They're very different formats to give staff development. When you're giving to a full faculty, everyone's hearing the same message. When you're doing by department, it's very specific. The curriculum associates often come to the elementary schools, meet with their specialists in the elementary schools as well, so everybody is kind of on the same page. Elementary teachers attend up to 4 faculty meetings a month, again, hearing the same message. Very often, our elementary principals will differentiate those meetings, so they may meet with K and 1 this Tuesday, 2 and 3 the following Tuesday, because the message they want to deliver or what they're sharing is a little bit different. So those opportunities are excellent.
Are these 30-minute meetings, 3-hour meetings?
They're 1-hour meetings, and the curriculum meeting would have been 50 minutes? Yeah, they're 50 minutes. Okay, technology staff development looks a little bit different. It's very, very differentiated. Usually that staff development comes from BOCES. We earn these model school days, and they send in their own staff developers. Teachers sign up on a very flexible calendar to study different formats, platforms, hardware, software, whatever they need. We also have Leanne Dunkley here. She's one of the technology staff members who provides on-site professional development. Teachers sign up as needed. And Dr. Fogarty is also available to provide personalized learning, usually to parents. Patrick will usually work with parents who need the extra assistance. In the PPS department, it's pretty much compliance oriented because the special education staff participates in every piece of staff development that every teacher participates in. So there are different regulatory and compliance issues up there that are mandatory. This year, we are adding MTSS, we're adding a social emotional screening tool, which is mandated by next year. So we're rolling that out, and for grades 3 to 12, students will be taking surveys 3 times a year to assess their social and emotional growth.
And what are we doing with the information? What's it like?
This is a mandate from the state. It's really just to monitor progress.
You want to say, what do you monitor? Like, what is, I understand it's the same thing, but what do they want you to monitor?
Really social, these are social and emotional.
I know, not knowing what that means. I'm saying, like, are they saying, oh, are you happy? And so you're gonna see how many kids went from happy to very happy from September to June? Or are you going from,
Kids who are struggling, what the areas might be, the interventions are put in place, are the interventions working?
but this is the whole school population, or just PPS students?
This is gonna be all of New York State. This is every student in New York State.
Right, and so you're gonna get data from all these students, but you're not, it's an anonymous survey or it's a name survey?
It's gonna be I believe, a name survey. It's
Okay.
brand new, we're just starting to roll it out now. They're aligned to specific competencies, the CAPSUL competencies, things like responsibility, connectedness, what else?
Wait, and you're gonna know what each student says? Like, we're gonna have information about XYZ student said this about whatever, and then someone's gonna sit there going through this data, and it sounds very intrusive. It sounds extremely intrusive, especially given that you have a named survey where you're asking, I think you said 3rd graders?
3 through 12.
To give you emotional responses, which I would think are, at the first sense, somewhat unreliable, but 2, could be giving all kinds of information that it sounds like the parents would go crazy.
I don't think so. It's how do you feel? I mean, we have not administered yet. We're just getting ready to
No, I understand. but
train
if-
staff.
If you in third grade, you tell the kid, oh, I'm happy at home, I'm happy at home, I'm happy at home. Sixth grade, they suddenly put their, oh, and again, I don't know what questions they're gonna say. You somehow come away, oh, I'm really unhappy at home, that's gonna, you know, sort of initiate a phone call from someone at the school to the parent saying, oh, your kid's been happy for the last 2.5 years, he suddenly seems to not be happy on, you know, October 12th when we gave the survey. Like, I'm trying to understand what the purpose of this, or how you get around this.
Desiree?
Can I help out a tiny bit? So it's not a mental health screener, so it really speaks more to social emotional competencies like organization and friendship making. So it won't say, are you happy? It might say like, do you find it easy to talk to friends on the playground? And yes, no, sometimes. Or something like, when I have a lot of work, I feel like I'm not sure where to start. And then the whole idea isn't really to say, Mr. Perlman needs help in this. It might be how we disaggregate the data and we say, you know what, all of our third graders could use a little support in making friends on the playground. So there's interventions and lessons aligned to that, and we can say to our third grade teachers and our elementary principals, hey, here's something that during some of your downtime, you can kind of teach kids, here's a strategy when you're on the playground, and I'm not sure how to approach a friend, here's how to approach a friend. So it's not looking at, are you sad or are you happy? It's really more about those CASEL competencies, responsible decision-making, friendship,
Yeah,
and they're leveled and
self-management.
developmentally appropriate through high
So
school.
why would it be named? It seems like you're looking at it from a macro standpoint, that it would be an anonymous survey, but we're talking about it being named now.
I have to be honest, I'm not positive if it's named or not. We have the representatives coming in to tell us how the data is going to be given to us, and then I know that we can disaggregate it by grade, by gender, by age. I don't know for sure about the naming, but I can find that out.
And is this optional for students to take, or it's mandatory where, and again, I don't know how you make a
Yeah.
survey of a third grader mandatory, when there's no real punishment that's
No.
available.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be optional. In my previous district, we had used the DESA, and the parents were able to opt their kids out. So when we pushed it out during the class, if parents opted their kid out of it, they just wouldn't be able to take the survey.
So you're gonna notify parents before, and I mean, one of the reasons I'm asking this, and I don't know, Mr. Gleason's not here, or Mrs. Blue is here to represent, some of the middle school parents go crazy when you give their kids surveys,
But
and
you see-
not even knowing what the questions are.
In all the surveys, to my knowledge, it's voluntary. There's no survey that's given to a kid in this district that says you must.
And I'm not getting, look, we're not getting to hear about whether or not, and again, my kids took any survey you put in front of them. I'm not worried, I'm not speaking for myself, so, but the parents like, oh, I didn't know you were giving them a survey. They don't even know what the survey's about, and they're already offended that you're asking their kids questions. I'm not saying that that's a good answer for a parent to do. I'm simply trying to understand what it is, and if like, because I'm telling you, I think that if parents know that this is gonna be a name survey, I don't think you're gonna get people taking the survey.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we're going to do some conversations with the rep and some PD for the admins beforehand, and I think that the point will be full transparency to the community about what the survey both will entail, what data we will get from it, and how we intend to use it. It's actually grant funded, so truthfully, we've had conversations with the rep, but we haven't been able to get the product yet, so once we get it, then we'll be
And
able
if
to
you're
do
able
a
to
full.
put that on our website so they know what kids are gonna be getting asked, I think that'll help you with, certainly with the middle school. Yeah, like what are you asking the question?
Right, we had not.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be the same survey.
It took about a
every-
year to pick the tool. It took
Yeah,
us about a
so
year to
last
pick
year
the
they
It's
did
not like
do.
the survey's gonna change, you're gonna give them the same survey in September, December, or whatever you do, it's not like,
Yeah.
it's not like a test. It's
No,
sort of-
no,
No.
Right, so like knowing what the questions is, you're not giving away any secrets.
So I also, in my previous district, gave the DESA as well, and the reason that you do, it is a name survey and they are voluntary is because when you get into the multi-tiered system of support, so something like Desiree was saying about, all the third graders were saying that they're struggling with this skill, but then when there's some of the skills, even just I'm able to advocate for myself when something's wrong. If there's you slowly start seeing there's smaller groups of kids that need that more individual direct instruction that is gonna be smaller, so that's why they will, we need the identifiers.
I
And
agree.
most of your students took the test in your old
We,
district?
everyone did, but we gave parents the option to opt out, so we had very few people opt out.
Great, then
So-
I'd love to be wrong.
So as an elementary principal in 2 prior districts, we did the same thing, and we had all of our parents actually opt in. One of the things that was really helpful is being able to have that data, so school counselors, school psychologists can really help to identify certain students that they can bring in for example, for playgroups. Students that are saying that, I'm having a hard time maybe at recess, right? And so these 5 students have expressed that they're having a hard time. We're able to help bring those students together, provide some supports, provide some strategies they can use. But as far as elementary level goes, I've never had a concern as far as parents wondering, because at the end of the day, to the point you raised, they could opt out. And so we never, when given that choice, most parents honestly say, we'd like to see what our students have to say. what our
I mean,
children have
the
to say.
questions that were in my head are much different than the questions that you and Mrs. Balud are talking about, which seem
Yeah.
a lot more amenable to, you know, I wanna know if my kid has trouble making friends, or I want you guys to help him do that, or whatever other stuff you're
And the
asking
nice
about.
part is about this system that we're talking about here, is that we can go in and edit the questions, so if we feel like there's something that's not age appropriate, we're able to say squash it, get rid of it. And that's the nice part about it, because ultimately it's gonna be questions that are specific to that, quite frankly, developmentally appropriate age level. And
So the state mandates you do this, but they're not actually giving you the test. We
They're
go
not-
out-
We haven't seen it yet.
They're mandating that we do social emotional screeners, because just like with reading and with math, we wanna make sure that we're catching kids when they're starting to struggle, and they don't then go up the line with, you know, much more difficulties with those social emotional components, so then we can choose the screener. I used the DESA in my previous district, as did I think Ms. Balud said, last year.
Garden City chose 9 of those questions,
Yeah.
but in the city, we had to do 40 of the questions. Am I right?
We did
Am I-
30.
So the
Yes.
state's
So if
mandating-
you really
so this
have-
is like, the state mandating, you have to do social emotional testing, but you don't have to test them if they know math or science?
No,
Does
we
that
do
sort of sum it up?
NWA.
Yeah,
That sort of sums it up, that you don't have to test them on math and
No.
science.
No, we
have to
do.
test
no, you
them.
do, I said just
No,
like
they're trying to
math.
get rid of that though,
Yeah.
they're trying to get rid of that at the high school level, so it's like, we want you to know if they can make friends, but we don't want you to know if you're teaching them anything.
Think of it this way, if a student is having difficulties academically or socially, emotionally, we're required by state law to provide some sort of academic, or, when I say academic, some sort of intervention support. And so that's what this ultimately is, being able to target students by saying, you know what, I'm having a challenge, whether it's in math or reading, let's give you some added support. You're having a hard time socially, let's give you some added support. And so-
And I get that, and look, the way you guys have talked about it, it sounds like a good idea, don't get me wrong, but like they're trying to take away educational testing, but they want social emotional testing. It bothers me, it's just, I'm past most of this stuff, but whatever. Thank you.
Yeah, this becomes a mandate in 25-26 to have a screen. It took us a year to identify a screener. Now that we have it, we have not seen the questions, because I know I've asked for them, and they would not share it yet. So that is forthcoming. Okay, so a big push that's been going on, we started year 4, this year, is working, we identified to use the Danielson rubric as an evaluation tool for our teachers. We started to participate in pretty intensive staff development. So we're working with a consultant by the name of Candy McKay. The particular consultant from her company that works with us is a woman by the name of Carolyn Tinsley. Year 1, Candy came in, well, we did it virtually to start with the administrators, just explaining the rubric, the difference, and a lot of the nuances that it had, which is one of the reasons why we prefer it. Year 2, we brought in K-8 teachers, and we started working on learning targets and assessment capable learners, what success criteria looks like. We just finished up that K-8 piece on learning targets and assessment capable learners this week. Last year, we also brought in, we started with the high school, doing the same piece. However, the high school is only at the very beginning. K-8 is at the very end of this particular piece, and in January, our K-8 teachers are gonna start a piece on student engagement. The high school teachers will continue working on this last unit until the end of this year. So this is a K-12 initiative. It's going great. It's not an overhaul, it's just a lot of tweaks that are research-based, good practice. And I think it's been incredibly helpful.
I'm sorry, I completely don't understand this is, you're talking about we're in year 4 you're talking about.
Correct, starting this year.
And what are teachers doing differently?
There are minor tweaks, they're just very
Tweaks
small,
to the
like
game.
micro moves
Okay.
to their practice, so it's not a big overhaul. It's a lot of working with, you know how we used to call it an aim or an objective on the board. We're now calling them learning targets, where the student can walk out of the classroom and know exactly what they were supposed to accomplish. And then their teachers are establishing success criteria to help students achieve that target. So we learned how to write targets, we learned how to unpack them with teachers, defining vocabulary that might be in, where a child may not understand that particular word. And we're moving forward, and it's become very intentional teaching. So everything has kind of narrowed and has become very intentional. Students understand exactly what they're what they're supposed to be learning. But this piece has only been completed in K-8. High school had a brief opening last year, maybe at the end of the school year, but we're continuing soon.
And this is a state mandate, or this is a new
Nope.
program that?
This
So what was
is
the genesis for this?
the Danielson rubric, the switching evaluation tools for the teachers.
So the Danielson rubric, now the teachers are gonna be evaluated whether or not.
They have been for the last 4 years.
Okay, so, but not at the high school,
Yep, at the high school as well.
or I think you said it was only K through 8 kids.
No, the training. One
the
piece of
training.
this training has just been completed for K-8, and high school is moving into the same piece.
So if you're evaluating a teacher, you're going in there, when you walk out, you should know what the aim was for that day's
The learning
assignment.
target, just.
Learning target, I'm sorry, learning
Correct.
target, I apologize again. Look what the learning target was for that assignment,
Well, for the whole lesson,
for the whole lesson.
for a lesson, exactly. So the teacher will have a learning target on the board. I can write an informational paragraph using 4 details. It's an elementary target. So by the time that lesson is finished, children should be able to write an informational paragraph with 4 specific details. The teacher,
But how are they gonna teach that in 50 minutes? They're not gonna teach that in 50 minutes.
But a lesson
And
can go on over a couple of days.
sure,
So you
absolutely,
could have the same
Yep.
learning target over a period of time.
absolutely.
And what would be a learning target for a chemistry class? High school chemistry class, it's like,
I'm
I
gonna throw
learned-
that at Kim. What's
Is she here?
a solid learning target for a chemistry class?
A solid learning for a chemistry class. I can tell the difference between intermolecular forces and the role that they play in chemical properties and interactions. Can you do that?
I don't even know what the words mean, so no, I certainly cannot.
But then the teacher would actually
So
unpack
then
the vocabulary.
And that would be that would be an AP chemistry, that's an AP chemistry college board learning target. And then the students do a series of activities that would support that target. And at the end, the students should be able to check in and determine and rate themselves in terms of what their progress is and how comfortable they feel in mastery of that learning target. And then the teacher then can now modify the lesson for the next day, given the results of the self-assessments, and figure out how to address any learning gaps and or bolster any strengths that they saw in that particular lesson.
Thank you.
Right, so this has been an ongoing process. I think it's going well. We have, in the K-8 group, administrators and teachers working together. At the elementary principals and 3 or 4 teachers from their building are part of this group as well. And then what they do is they plan together and they turnkey it to their staff. So we have teachers and administrators working together, and it's been great. And there they are. This was from Tuesday. You have some middle school teachers. Mrs. Kletter was there, part of the learning group there. So this is a lot of the things that are happening this year. Most of them are ongoing. The only new piece in this list is the news media literacy, which we started at Superintendent's Conference Day. Everything else has been ongoing.
Okay, this is what you're teaching our faculty, or this is what you're teaching our kids?
Faculty.
Got it.
It continues. There's a lot going on. A lot of the teachers have been writing units of study, curriculum projects over the summer, using a lot of these topics.
So we go back to
I'm
some,
gonna go. Sure.
so, like, the second one, best practices for, so it says there, in addition to session, you're teaching our faculty conversational Mandarin? I'm not sure.
I have one of our Mandarin teachers, Zhenji Li. It goes into the elementary schools. She does 1 or 2 sessions a year at each elementary school, the middle school, and the high school to teach. She's been working with the teachers just to teach them basic Mandarin, so when parents come in, they feel comfortable. And they actually are getting, for the state, they need continuing credits. So 15 of those credits, 15 of those hours have to be in ENL, teaching ENL and children who do not speak English. So we help provide that by doing some of this. This
So how
counts
much are
towards
they,
it.
but you said 1 or 2 lessons, or are they getting 15 hours, or are they getting
No, they have to do 15 hours over 5 years.
over 5 years?
So we slowly are providing that, and we also have Tina Keeling, who's our ENL facilitator. She does the same thing in all 5 buildings. She'll go in and do some ENL strategies every year, and kind of help teachers assist our English language learners. So it's,
The number of our ENL students has gone up a lot in the last couple of years, down, stayed the same?
actually, it's gone up, but probably not as much as you would think.
I don't think, I
Yeah,
don't know.
no, it's, our ENL numbers are not tremendous. They're not.
So they haven't risen, to say they've risen sharply would be a misstatement.
I agree, yes.
That's a good thing.
So,
In your,
we have a large ENL pop, but it is not burgeoning, so. Okay, what's really nice about our staff and our teachers who are just lifelong learners, they're constantly seeking out opportunities to further their practices. So there are approved catalogs where courses are offered, and those organizations are SCOPE, New York State United Teachers Education and Learning Trust, Intercounty Teacher Resource Center, and Nassau Tract. A lot of these courses are synchronous, some are asynchronous, and teachers take them on their own. Many of them are to advance their own learning, and some are to, for salary credit. So before any teacher registers for a course, they have to fill out a course approval form, and it has to be approved by my office, as well as Dave. So,
and the incentive for that again is credit, cash,
Credit.
learning,
credit for
credit?
salary advancement.
Got it, so this,
And many teachers will take it just for their own knowledge.
okay.
The high school teachers regularly attend the college AP. In order to teach an AP class, you must attend college board AP workshops, so a lot of our teachers do that as well. over the
Every
summer.
year or just once before you teach it?
It's a one shot, but we're constantly training new teachers. So every summer, we're sending at least 3 or 4 teachers to the AP, to the college board AP workshops. This is some more of the offsite. I thought this was some of the cooler stuff that our teachers are going to. And courses that they're taking offsite, besides just from those catalogs. So. What's kind of nice is that the Science Research Consortium was developed by our own Ms. Kim Libertini. So. This came is for our ASA's Music and Art, the Millikan Fellows Philosophy. The program has been wonderful to us, and some of our teachers are trained there, they're interns. This summer we had one, correct, Eric?
Sarah Espinal,
Yep, who was Kansas City.
Kansas City and
Kansas City this
Philadelphia.
summer. We're doing a lot with drone technology. Again, many of our teachers travel out of state to attend a lot of this. Some of it is on their own. Some of it is through us. A lot of this is professional development they found on their own, have identified. Again, it's hard to identify all of them because it's constantly changing. We can get a flyer that sounds fabulous tomorrow and consider sending teachers, so.
We make the decision, or the teachers make, don't they make their own, so when you say sending teachers?
Sometimes, if they want to go on their own, they go on their own. But if they want to do it through us, or it's something we recommend that might be beneficial to what they're teaching, then we will.
Oh, when you say we send people, it's on their initiative, they come to you and say. "I'd like
Sometimes,
to
or sometimes we
recommend.
invite teachers to
Is that
attend.
for deficiency, or is that when we recommend something to someone, is it typically to correct a deficiency, or is it typically to take them from here up to here?
It's things like this, it's always to take them from here to here.
Yeah.
And that is a quick overview of what we're doing to address the needs of our teachers, who are so willingly open to doing it, which is pretty great. So, anyway, I think we have a pretty comprehensive program. It's ongoing, and it's nice that they seek it out mostly on their own. So. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Everybody knows where to find find me if they have any. So,
Thank you, Ricky.
no, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I think that concludes our agenda.
No, can we spend some time talking about regional?
Regionalization?
Yes.
It would be my pleasure.
Can we get you a microphone now, because when people ask me about it, I want them to say, this is what our superintendent said.
When am I attached?
I don't know how far it's gonna go.
Okay, I won't go that far, sorry.
Get
Would
wireless.
you like a stool? We can do a stool, like one of those.
Yeah, we'll do a fireside chat.
There you
I can do
go.
that.
I got you.
Good night, everyone.
Super excited.
It was this one, yeah,
This can't be a good topic.
it's a great topic.
It's like a TED talk. Good
Good night, everyone.
night, thank you. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
You might sing that.
There's extra Greek food. Anybody who really cares
Guys,
about
welcome to stay.
regionalization, please feel free.
If they're gonna have to start teaching kids from other districts, then you should care.
You think that's gonna happen, Sam?
I hope not, but I don't know.
I hope not either. So, State Education Department came out over the summer with a regionalization plan. And I can read to you a little bit about some of the contents. There has been a flurry of reaction to the regionalization plan, feeling that the state is planning, and again, I've heard comments, planning to force districts to combine services, to share services. Some of the rumors out there, is this a hidden method for consolidation? The state has talked about consolidation, Sam, for probably 30 or 40 years, looking at districts upstate that have 200 kids. I don't believe that the state is using this vehicle, which is a 10-year plan, that they're looking at this vehicle to force consolidation, because any consolidation would have to be voted on by the legislature, and any time consolidation has been discussed by the legislature, there is no state assemblyman or state senator from either party that is going to advocate for their districts to combine with other districts. That's been absolutely universal.
Right, but I guess a couple of things. Well, and the way I said, then what you're talking about with consolidation is, yes, is an extreme case where they try to take 3, 4, 5 districts. Typically, they're too small to really succeed on their own to make them larger. I
Correct.
get that part.
So the offshoot to what's the background to regionalization? The district is, the state ed is talking about what can we do to support districts that are, number one, underfunded? What can we do for districts? For example, Sam, when I was at the state conference about a week and a half ago, there were 2 superintendents from the North Country, and they both talked about, we are forced to teach Regents level courses in our district. One of them, I think chemistry was an example, algebra was an example, with uncertified teachers, with teacher aides. How can you teach a Regents course algebra with a teacher aide? We have no applicants. So I think that's part of the underpinning. Another part of the underpinning is funding. They talk a great deal about inequity from district to district. They talk about sharing services. Again, there are parts of the plan that people have reacted to, and I think in some cases initially overreacted to, where there are some mandates in terms of reporting. Number one, there are some mandates in terms of the role of the district superintendent. And again, that appears to be that the district superintendent will have the legal authority to mandate shared services.
Yeah, but when you say district superintendent, that's a BOCES superintendent, not you.
Correct.
It's the BOCES, so when you
Correct.
say district superintendent, everybody's gonna think you have even more power,
The-
but it's really the BOCES guy
the-
telling you what to do.
Right, the term BOCES superintendent refers to the Board of Cooperative Educational Service Superintendents. Now,
When you say district, I'm just saying, when you say district superintendent, people are thinking you. So-
gotcha. The model that exists in rural New York State is and frankly, go back 30 or 35 years. The BOCES district superintendent was technically the supervisor of the superintendents in the rural districts in upstate New York. They had titles such as district principal, supervising superintendent. The district superintendent actually had legal authority over those superintendents in those school districts. And 40 years ago, they had the authority, they had the legal authority to combine districts, combine supports within districts. So, as people have seen in some of the material, the role of the BOCES superintendent will be, there's been a reaction to, will he have legal authority to force upon districts? So there definitely is a sense, and I've heard this from both superintendents and from board members, and there appears to be, in Nassau County, a great deal of activity in terms of, well, shouldn't we be writing letters to the state now objecting to the potential of mandating we open seats in our BC Calc class, for example. What my position would be is let's give this a little bit of time to unfold. There are several meetings that are coming up that board members can attend. There are several discussions that are still taking place at the superintendent level. There's a Nassau Suffolk School Boards Association meeting, which I sent to you. I'm also told there'll be a major presentation by the Commissioner of Education at the School Boards Convention on the issue as well. So my message...
I asked about that, and they said there was nothing on the agenda.
Right now, there's nothing, but I'm told from her office that she's currently putting together a plan to have an actual presentation.
That's good. That was one of my, number 2 on the list, that if they're not talking about the NISBA conference, it's like they're, because, so then explain this, because I know you had the meeting, I guess you were part of the joint management team meeting on September 27th,
Yes.
where I guess the notes from that made it seem like most of the superintendents there were sort of like, we don't understand the purpose, but
Correct.
the
And we
issue is, but like, there's clear stuff, but it says, like, we talked about, they're making you fill out all this information on an emergent, like, they've declared this an emergency where you have 60 days, and they've said specifically they want to start implementation in the 25-26 school year.
26, 27, I think.
Again, this one I took out of the NISBA magazine, where they said school year 25-26 implementation of reorganization plan. Now, the NISBA magazine might be wrong, but that's what they said, and or I could have written or read it wrong, or whatever it is. It's not like it's not like they're looking to do this in 10 years. They're looking to implement this in the next 10 months.
Again, so their presentations have been, we want all this information to study the inequities that exist from district to district. The superintendents have responded immediately in terms of, you gave us 2 months for 45, the board has seen that, 45 page, which if you look at the contents of those 45 pages, State Education Department probably has 75-85% of that information in their banks. So superintendents first responded, you gave us no time, you're asking us to fill out information that you already have in hand, you're calling it an emergency, which is raising everybody's level of concern, and yours, in one of the documents, I'm not sure that the board may have seen that, in one of the documents, they make the BOCES superintendent sound like judge and jury in terms of what is going to transpire.
That was the precursor to the survey, which is listed somewhere else. We're talking about what they're looking to do.
So, again, at this point, my advice to the board and to our administration is, let's see what unfolds over the next month. There's been a strong reaction at meetings saying, please clarify what it is that you're looking to achieve. I understand their level of concern in terms of some of the inequities based upon staffing levels, et cetera. I'll share with the board. We had conversations, this is probably 15 years ago, 20 years ago, where there was a discussion from 4 or 5 school districts. I believe it definitely was Rockville Center, Jericho, Syosset, and again, it was 5 or 6 high-performing districts where we got together as a group and said, look, we run, and you heard Ivy's presentation today, we run a series of professional development activities. Could each of us offer, okay, there's 25 seats, let's not give up any of our seats, but instead of having 25 people attend, let's open up 5 seats to a bordering school district. So those were the kinds of conversations that took place in terms of looking at low-performing districts and offering them some of our expertise in professional development. Very frankly, those conversations took place for 5 years and nothing ever transpired from them. But we think that that's part of the genesis of some of the conversations that are taking place today. Can we share professional development activities? You early on raised, so are we going to open seats in our classroom and displace Jericho kids? Absolutely not.
But we don't know that.
We don't know that.
That's the concern. The concern is not that, yes, we're gonna do it because, I mean, forget about the huge number of issues that they would be involved in it. And I understand, like, that's it, where, so, like, because I think in one of the articles, one of the things they put out, they said, oh, you don't know if Einstein, the future Einstein is going to school in some district that doesn't have AP physics, he's never gonna know he's Einstein, so he needs to be able to go to some district that takes AP physics. From a logistics standpoint, I have no concept of how they would ever make that work.
And the piece that lets me sleep at night at this point, in terms of what is possible, is anything that would impact the autonomy of the Jericho School District would have to be legislative.
That was my point. I don't even know how that would even be legal.
And
Yeah.
they,
Again, I agree with both of those things, but as we've seen, forget about state
They can
education.
squeeze you for money.
State education, no, wait, hold on. State education made mandates, like we've seen in the last days, where they just did it, where it wasn't legislatively approved. The federal government has lots of mandates where it's not legislatively approved, and I agree with you.
Yeah, there are executive orders, there are all
I
types,
agree
different types of
with
things.
you,
No.
it would be illegal, but if state ed came to you, if the state came to you and said, by the way, your minuscule amount of state aid that we give you every year is
Yes.
dependent upon you opening up your class to 10 students, we're gonna sit there and say, okay,
Sam, in that case, keep your money.
Yeah, I mean,
For the amount of money that we receive, however.
But that's
let me-
why I asked you
let me-
that question.
yeah,
That's
let me-
why I asked you that
yeah,
question.
Let me go back to, again, embedded in some of the materials that I've read, and from people that I've talked to in Albany, and their advice has been, take a chill, superintendents. Anything that is that significant in terms of dollar sharing or opening borders will have to take place legislatively. I do not see our local legislators diluting their districts. I don't see them diluting, a Roslyn, a Jericho, a Syosset. Legislatively, and again, I'll go back 30, 40 years when they started talking about consolidation. Hey, it's a great idea. The second that any proposal for consolidation came to the legislature, it wasn't even discussed. The legislature would not even go on record and say, well, philosophically, it's a great idea, but just don't do it to Assembly District 37.
The state has tried this. I mean, most recently, and it sounds like years ago with education, they've tried it with special taxing districts, fire districts, sanitation districts, water districts. By and large, they haven't been successful with that. I think what's most important, and Hank, thank you for this kind of primer on regionalization. Most importantly, it doesn't sound like any of this is imminent, despite the state's cry that we have to fill out all this information and provide them all this information.
but what gives you that confidence?
What
gives you that confidence? Because
Sam, the only thing that gives me the confidence is
I think this would be locked up in courts
hearing people say what is possible and what is not possible without legislation. And right now, based on history, I'm comfortable in saying that I feel confident that what potentially would be horrible legislation just will never take place. And the authority within state ed.
It would be an overstep if they ever.
And again, to your point, has state ed made some mandates?
I hear you.
Again, go back to mask wearing.
Yes.
I see that as very different than them coming in and saying, you have to give 5 seats in our BC Calc class to kids in XYZ district.
Wait, I agree with you. It is
Local-
at large,
local
except
control.
for the fact that state ed has shown a willingness to do that. And the second part of it is that, again, like, they were trying up until a month ago when everybody sort of said, okay, guys, stop doing this when they were trying to put boys into unlimited amounts of girls' athletics. There was some huge ability to do that, but they sort of said, you know what, we're gonna do this. And It was only because everybody stood up and said, no.
Again, I see the parallel.
I know it's
There-
not, I know it's not.
there was no-
I frankly believe
There
it's
was
a
no,
major
yeah,
opposition to this.
on the mixed competition issue, that, I mean, it was a limited number of regents, and very frankly, one person in state ed that pushed that. There was no forethought, and there was no one that supported it. When you talk
The
about,
Board of Regents supported it, they all voted for it.
I think after they confused some of the issues related to mixed competition. I think once they were informed of the difference between transgender and mixed competition, they backed off from
Well,
the
that's
issue.
why I asked you to invite Roger Tillis here, because he can explain to us what it is he was thinking when he said yes. Because at the end of the day, he's
He
our
was-
representative, who
correct.
said, hey, go out and fill out this 44-page
Correct.
piece of information, because this is what I wanna think. But this is what me and my other Board of Regents, who are purely political appointees, this is what we
So
wanna
that
do.
one of the questions that I asked was, is this a very clever tactic to move toward consolidation, mandated consolidation? And the response I got from respected sources, state ed, if you look at how, I hate saying this with folks watching.
It's not that big a crap, but.
Can state ed, when they can't put together a mixed competition proposition, be smart enough to put together a 10-year plan that's gonna lead to mandated consolidation?
No, and again, I think there's a huge gap between where we are today and consolidation. And again, it's simply saying, okay, XYZ district doesn't offer AP Physics. Jericho, you offer a great AP Physics class, look at your great scores on all your students. Yes, this kid lives in upstate New York, so he can't get there, so we want your teacher to teach AP Physics on Zoom. So now, as you said, it's like they're taking away assets from us, and look, we're the primary target. Roslyn's the primary target, Syosset's the primary target, where they want to take assets away from it. And so if you're a district where you may actually benefit from this, and it's unclear who benefits, how they benefit, but it just seems like that.
I understand.
The fact that they're doing it on an emergency basis, say, this is an emergency.
That's what raised everybody's level of concern, when they called it an emergency, and the whole piece of the BOCES superintendent. Again, I think there's a lot to unfold over the next couple of months, and I think the feedback at meetings, and, you know, the feedback that in the superintendent's meetings, the feedback that the commissioners received, and the feedback now that it's generating from boards of education, I think will lead for them to clarify and modify their recommendations. Again, discussing equity, discussing there are teachers who are teaching uncertified. It's a legitimate conversation. Let's have the conversation. But in that conversation, do not legislate something that we have to do. We're willing to talk about options as long as it's voluntary, that as a district we agree to, versus don't either legislate or have SAD mandate. And again, the current thought, and this is a conversation that we could have with Steve Goodstead as well, we don't see their ability to mandate, in some cases, draconian changes to the functioning of local controlled public school districts in the state.
Hank, I think, number one, just kind of, you know, reinforcing what I said earlier. Number one, I don't believe it's legal, so I think there would be major legal challenges. Number two, I think it's ill-conceived. I mean, listen, we don't want to help everybody. You know, some districts are better off than others. I mean, we're very fortunate that, you know, that we're Jericho. But I think, you know, once the politicians who ultimately are gonna, you know, either try and push this or stall it, realize the implications to their own longevity, you know, it may have them take pause.
Look, there is no local politician. There is no Blumenkrantz or Levine who are gonna vote
Did
to,
we say we're not bringing up names?
it's in November yet? Next month I won't bring up names.
Next month you can, as long as 10th November, whatever it is.
There's no way that unnamed assemblymen and senators who represent our school district and represent other school districts,
100%.
there's no way that they're gonna thumbs up to anything that is gonna dilute in any shape, manner, or form the quality of education that exists in the Jericho School District.
I'm more humble than Dr. Fresso. I don't know education law well enough to know what the BOCES president is able to do or what the Department of Education is able to mandate without, like you said, it was legislative, that anything they do requires legislative approval. I take you at your word, but I have no idea.
Obviously
if
not
that's
everything.
true. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, so.
No, it's not, let me clarify, if I said everything, it's not everything. There are things that state aid can mandate. Example, they did mandate the masks. There are things they can mandate. I do not, and we can ask Steve to be prepared to talk to that at our October meeting. There are things that clearly go above and beyond a health issue, a vaccination issue. There are issues in terms of impacting the legal authority of a Board of Education in terms of the services they provide to kids.
100%, and then for someone to mandate to us that we have to spend our residents' dollars educating non-resident
Which is
children.
why I question the legality.
I understand, but I don't know how hard it is to change that.
No, I don't
I
either.
don't know if that's a state law.
But I
don't know
do
what-
think,
what law
Sam,
that
you
is.
talk about political appointees, and you talk about the governor, I mean, all these different people, I think at the end of the day, we know how polarized people were with mask mandates, and, Hank, we were talking earlier, we were talking, a little bit about, tolling in the city for roads, and I mean, that died quickly. Once, I think the
It died
politicians.
quickly at all.
No, once the politicians realized that, it was gonna potentially cost them their jobs, they were quick to pedal back. There's one thing Long Islanders and New Yorkers care about, and that's education. And I think this would cause major upheaval. Again, not knowing everything about it, but I do think if Sam Perlman, and again, I'll use you as an example, I do think if Sam Perlman's children couldn't get into a calculus class as a taxpayer in the Jericho School District because somebody from some other district was occupying that seat, I would be the first one out there protesting.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
But
And again,
it's out of our control.
I
We'd have to
don't
fight that.
think that, I don't believe that will ever be out of our control. Look, when you hear a superintendent saying, I have somebody who's an uncertified teacher without 4 years of college teaching algebra, that's a legitimate concern that the state needs to face. That's not a concern in Jericho, that's a concern in the North Country. The state has to figure a way to fix that.
But that's a difference of philosophy. And there are people who have the philosophy that it is partly Jericho's responsibility to educate that kid. And I don't agree with that philosophy. It sounds like you don't agree with that philosophy. I don't think any of us do. But that's a philosophy that exists. It's look, what happened in New York City? They sort of said, granted, your team did it. They used to say, okay, you live here, you're gonna go to this high school. Then one day they woke up and said, wait, you live in Queens, but you wanna go to Bronx Science? Apply to Bronx Science. If you get in, you'll go to Bronx Science. And so, yes, the parts of Manhattan that had really good schools, suddenly like, wait, my kid can't go to the local school, what am I doing here?
New York
anymore?
City is a different state.
Wait, it is, absolutely, but they can, and look, it made the whole New York City school system probably worse, and that's the
And the
concern.
New York City Council voted to make that happen. The mayor, again, it's a different.
But people make stupid decisions, that's all I'm saying, it's not
I
inconceivable.
think our local assemblyman and our local state senator on this issue is so black and white. Don't diminish the program that we have in our district. If you have to vote yes or no on it, if God forbid you vote yes on it, you won't be reelected in November and they know it.
Yeah, they will vote no on it, but there will be a majority of senators or assemblymen from upstate, because look, when you take money from one area, another area benefits. So if they're saying we're gonna take money from the North Shore of Long Island, there must be some district that says, oh, this will be beneficial to me and I want my politicians.
I think any politician that looks at losing local control, any Board of Education that looks at losing local control is not gonna be supportive.
But the plan as outlined details just that. It says you're losing local
And
control.
I'll go back to Victor, total state aid dollars we received, 10 million? This district, and again, if they ever played that game, we're gonna take away your state aid, take away our state
But
aid.
that's why I asked you about the BOCES number, because it said.
Victor didn't like that answer.
But-
So, Victor, it's only $39.
You can find it somewhere else.
You realize this is from the person who won't be here to deal with that issue, so it's okay.
Just settle at 25.
Yeah, but that's what I was asking about the BOCES thing, like, it said in there that only if you're a BOCES district, only if you're a member of BOCES.
Oh, so that was the genesis of
Would
your
you have to
question.
comply with this, That, yeah, no, oh, sorry, I didn't put it in there.
We don't,
That
well,
was Genesis.
we do not need to comply with BOCES. The reason that we are a member of BOCES is to take the benefit of the program and professional development for BOCES. There is nothing that can come from that district superintendent that impacts us functionally, organizationally, as
So
it
why are you
has.
filling out the survey? Why are you taking up, however, dozens of hours of administrative time at the beginning of the school year when you're still moving kids around classes? You're still, Mr. Manager's gonna start in the next 30 days doing his budget for next year. Why are we even bothering filling out the survey?
At this point, we have the data, we can fill it out in a couple of days' time. We've decided to comply. You hear loud and clear, and again, you know that I'm fairly active and high profile in the state. At this point, let's see what happens over the next month or two. Let's see what the commissioner says at school boards. And again, I think, an idea is we'll contact Steve Goodstad tomorrow and ask him is there a position coming out of Ingerman Smith in terms of what legal authority exists relative to and the law firms have to be studying the regionalization plan and ask them, where they are in that process. So
You had said before that there were superintendents of districts, you said something about writing letters?
there
I'm
are
not a
board,
big letter writer, but like.
there are boards of education that have started to write letters. I think at this point, my advice would be, let's give it a little more time before we necessarily go on record. Let them clarify exactly what some of the things
You just got on record. We got 20 minutes of you on record as to, this is a dumb idea.
Yeah, we'll
We're not doing it.
yeah. So to be continued at our October meeting, I'll reach out to Steve tomorrow and let you know what
And so you think
says.
there's nothing we need to be doing now? Just say-
Today, no.
If you
Maybe
get
at some point this winter, maybe.
If you get confirmation, because I tried, they said there was nothing on the agenda for the NISBA conference, which was either positive or negative.
I was told today that the commissioner is putting together a plan to have a discussion at NISBA.
Okay, and I
next
thought
week.
it was strange that Nassau Suffolk Board of Ed said, oh, we're gonna do this after NISBA's conference. It's like, well, why would you do it next week? Why would you do it before we all get together? Because it's like, by then, your call is a dinosaur, because regardless of whether or not the Secretary of Education shows up, people are gonna be talking about this, on the week of the weekend.
I fully believe the information I have about her. I think she's gotten enough feedback that she's putting together a plan to discuss it in a week and a
See,
half.
that's frightening, because if she got all that feedback, she should simply be saying, okay, we're gonna do this, what we did with, I forget the fancy term for the boys playing girls sports.
Next competition. Right?
Mixed competition, she said, okay, yeah, another bad idea, we're gonna take our ball and go home.
Let's see what happens at school boards.
Okay.
And I will talk to Steve tomorrow. Chris, we're good?
Thank you.
Thank you all. Good.
Motion to adjourn, motion to adjourn, yeah.
To adjourn.
I don't even know.
Second, all in favor?
I don't know.
It's all right. It's unanimous, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Did anybody vote no?
I don't think I vote.